Motociclo, yo soy Alejandra Osuna y el día de hoy me encuentro muy contenta porque me encuentro con Jim Hunter, quien vino a la carrera de Caín Road Race y a Expo Moto desde la isla de Man. Él es Marshal en la carrera de Tourist Trophy y en Manx Grand Prix en la isla de Man. Y bueno, ahora vamos a conocer un poquito más de su trayectoria. Hi Jim, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. And could I just start by saying thank you very much, Ale, for the opportunity to speak to you and Expo Moto. It's wonderful to be here in Mexico City. It's my third visit, and each time I enjoy it a little bit more than the previous time I was here.
No, thank you. It's an honor to have you here. So please, Jim, tell us, how do you start in this motorcycle world?
I hope you have a long time because this is a very long story, which begins with my grandparents, because both of my grandparents had jobs which one of my grandfathers worked for a company called BSA Motorcycles in Birmingham, and my other grandfather worked for Velicet Motorcycles. And as a consequence, both my parents, my mum and my dad, grew up in families where motorcycling was a huge thing. And then, of course, my mum and dad got married, and my brother Jeff and myself are both super keen motorcyclists. My brother has a business now making parts for motorbikes. But how did we get interested in racing? Every weekend when we were children, my mum and dad used to take my brother and myself to the races. Every year on holiday we went to the Isle of Man, right from when we were 1-2 years old all the way up, and we sort of grew up with the ambition of one day becoming a TT Manx Grand Prix rider. So it's a real family thing for us. My son Jack and my son Juan, who Jack has also competed in the Manx Grand Prix and the TT, and my son Juan is racing his motorbike in local races.
Well, all I can say is always family involved, so it was great. What is the biggest challenge in motorcycle racing? Like your biggest challenge about both, kind of?
In my opinion, racing a motorbike and trying to do it properly is a huge undertaking and a massive challenge. When it comes to the biggest challenge of all, in my opinion, although I've ridden on a lot of circuits throughout the United Kingdom, and nothing really compares for me, in my experience, to racing on the Isle of Man mountain course. It's very physical in its nature because you're travelling at such a high speed. And when you see these guys in the modern TT like Peter Hickman, Joey Dunlop, David Todd, Dean Harrison, these guys, in my opinion, are super strong athletes to ride at the speed they ride at for so long. Unless you've actually tried to do that yourself, everybody can look at it and think, wow, that's fantastic. If you've tried to do it yourself, then you can really appreciate, wow, those guys are really something very, very special, exceptionally brave, very courageous, and very, very skillful.
And you have to be content, and you know that for timing and doing that every day, and with your family in your side, so you have to be like in your mind all the time, So I understand and I appreciate that you are sharing this with us and with everybody in Expo Moto and in Caín Road Race. So I really appreciate it. So Jim, then what was the biggest obstacle for you as a pilot in your career?
I guess I'm not unlike the vast majority of other pilots, in that the biggest problem is always that you don't have enough money to buy the bike that you want. But I had two constraints. For me, one was money, and the other one is that my professional career is a school teacher, especially when you start out. So it's always a compromise again between should I be preparing lessons or should I be changing the oil on my bike. So
it's like having two lives, It's like sharing all your time, 24 hours, and be like half and half. So that's a challenge too, because you have to be like practicing and also being the things that in your heart makes you happy. So next one is, can you compare like the degree of difficulty of the Cayenne course and the Isle of Man course. Can you tell us about it?
The first thing that strikes you about the course, if you've never been, there'll be lots of people on the Isle of Man, in the road racing world in general, who've never been to Cayenne, but is the stunning scenery of the Sinaloa countryside. You ride up into the mountains. It's the first time Jorge took us up in the car, we stopped, and every 4 or 5 kilometers we stop and just admire the beautiful view. And the other thing that strikes you about it is the warmth of the welcome. And you stop your bike and you have a chat with the people. People say, "Oh, the Isle of Man," and everyone is so enthusiastic and they want to have a photograph and just talk about the Isle of Man, and it's a tremendous thing to experience. And then, of course, then you start to think about riding down the course. And just the fact it's so long, 74 kilometres and 548 corners. And the other difficulty is a lot of the corners, when you're not experienced on the circuit, they all look very similar. So as you approach the bend, you can't ride too quickly at first, because you don't know how sharp the corner's going to be, because the corners all look very similar. Because on the Isle of Man, because the terrain changes so much, as I see it, the corners look all very specific, and you can tell which one you're coming to because it looks different to all the others. Whereas on the Cayenne course, the corners, a lot of the corners look very similar. Of course, the TT course is very long at 60 kilometres, but the speed of the bikes at the TT course is a lot different, I would say. It's only on the final 4 or 5 kilometres of the Cayenne course. Both circuits are a huge challenge. Jorge was wearing a new Cayenne shirt when I saw him 3 or 4 days ago, and it has some Latin writing on the shirt, and I asked him what it meant, and he said, "Always ride within your limits." And I think this is the key message to pilots for the Cayenne course and for the Isle of Man course, that there's always, when you get on your racing bike, what you want to do is just give it full gas. You have to ride within your limits. Yeah, it's a dangerous game, so you have to approach it in the correct way.
Well, thank you. And the last one is, how long it's been the Isle of Man race? Like, what was the first time established on it?
Well, I think this is a wonderful thing for the Isle of Man, because I would say that the road racing on the Isle of Man is now one of the links that the current racing world has with the beginnings of motorsport. There aren't many events in the motorsport world, cars or bikes, that can go right back to the very, very beginning. And for the road racing on the Isle of Man, that started in 1907. So it's 2024 now, so I guess that's 117 years of racing. And when people arrive on the Isle of Man to watch the racing for the first time, they're almost look in disbelief at the speed of the bikes and the fact that it's a road race and you can get so close to the action. And when you stand on a MotoGP course, you're a long, long way back from there, and there are fences, and you can't see so much, possibly. But on the mountain course, you're right there next to the bikes. And the longer the TT and the Manx Grand Prix go on, the more different it will appear to be. The difference between circuits and road racing becomes wider, and that makes it more compelling for the people that visit, I think, because it's such a unique thing.
Well, you say a word that it really describe you. You said it's unique. And I think you are unique, and you are a wonderful man, and it's an honor to have you here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being in the Expo Moto, and we will see you again, I'm sure. I'm sure. Muchas gracias por estar aquí y agradezco muchísimo a Jim Hunter, y nos vemos en el próximo video.